We're joined in the studio by the political editor of the Sunday Mirror, Nigel Nelson, and also broadcaster Liz Kershaw to take us through the papers. Nigel, let's start with the front page of The Guardian. The Home Office report decries 30 years of racist laws. Just explain to us, what's this story about?
The story's about a historian who actually looked at the culture in the Home Office, and what he came up with is that 30 years of racist immigration legislation effectively led to the whole Windrush scandal. There was a predilection for actually trying to get white people in rather than black people in, and so on. Unfortunately, this has been a report they've kept under wraps. It's now just leaked. What is interesting about the whole Windrush scandal is I understand that a lot of it was actually based on unconscious bias. So what tended to happen is the Home Office is a really busy department. There are constant emergencies happening. And the result of that is they're always firefighting. So other people did raise the Windrush scandal long before it actually went into the public domain and said, look, we've got to do something about this. And I gather what happened then was that there was always an emergency that kind of took precedent. So it was elderly black people who were causing no trouble, so you could put it on the back burner, and then, of course, the whole thing exploded.
Yeah. I mean, do you think there'll be lessons learned from all of this, then?
Well, there should be. I mean, I think that they will actually, when warnings come through, they'll act on them next time round, should there be a next time.
Yeah. Let's hope there isn't. We were talking about it with Paul, Liz, but it's on the front of the Mirror, looking at the chaos for Liverpool in Paris. I mean, it's so shocking, especially when you see some of the images.
Well, it's heartbreaking. It makes me really angry. If ever I've been a football fan, it's been sitting at Anfield and going with my mate, who I've known since I was 3, on his season ticket. I've socialised with the Liverpool squad over the years in my role on 5 Live. I've lived in Liverpool. I go there socially. So I feel an affinity with the city and the people, and particularly that team. And for them to spend, ordinary, hard-working people, as politicians like to trot out, but in this case, really true, to travel all the way to Paris for a football match with the kids and elderly parents, etc., and spending thousands on doing that, getting to the ground in good time with valid tickets. There's one case, isn't there, at least, where somebody had a player's ticket, can't get more legitimate than that, and was told it was a fake. I mean, what was going on? And I'm really pleased. It's made a couple of the front pages, and it's inside every paper and in some of the football sections, back pages as well. I'm really pleased to see Nadine Dorries, who I've got a lot of time for as a politician. I've known her for about 15 years. She's also from Merseyside, so I can see why she's particularly aggrieved by this. The Culture Secretary asking for a proper inquiry into what the hell the French police were up to. Now, in Paris, they do like a riot to deal with. You know, they're a lot handier with tear gas and other riot-breaking equipment and methods than we are in the UK, but I just can't believe that it's something which is supposed to be a cultural, sporting, entertainment event, that people were treated like animals on the streets of a European capital city. No,
and especially, I know it doesn't matter what age you are, but I mean, the kids involved in this as well.
Well, yeah, little kids.
I mean, little kids.
And elderly people and people with asthma. And let's not, we often don't list the normal guys, middle-aged guys with families as well. Anybody that was there. It just makes my blood boil. When at the same time, and I don't want to conflate the two issues, but I'm just talking about the behaviour of the police. At the same time, in Calais, on the beaches of France, you just get French police standing there watching people, breaking the law, getting into boats and trying to break into Britain. It's just... I don't understand. It does need investigating so that...
I think there is going to be an investigation, but what we've got right now is a real blame game going on with the French sports minister now saying, well, basically it was because of a mass gathering of the British supporters without tickets or with fake tickets. So hopefully, well, if Nadine Dorries has her way, then we will actually hopefully get some kind of clarity on what exactly went wrong.
We'll establish whether he's telling the truth or not, or whether the fans are telling the truth. It's so sad as well, it's been said many times this weekend, it's so sad for that particular team, Liverpool, when we've only just got justice for the Hillsborough victims and their families.
Yeah. And then they get blamed for something all over again.
The same thing, fans, drunk, out of control, no tickets, don't know how to behave, it's all over again.
Nigel, interesting line in the Star this morning about Russia and the Ukraine, where the Russian ambassador has said we're not going to, we won't use nuclear weapons against Ukraine, which goes against the sort of rhetoric coming from the Kremlin.
Well, there is a bit of that, but this is Andrei Kelin. And almost the worrying thing about this is he has to raise it at all. We shouldn't even be considering the idea that nukes might actually be used in the Ukraine war. What he's saying is, and this is the warning bit to the West, he's saying that no, Russia won't use nukes. However, they might if there is a threat to Russia's existence. And in a sense, it rather depends on the perception in the Kremlin of what they see as the threat to Russia's existence. I mean, the way Putin's been talking, it's actually the fact he's got NATO countries on his doorstep that he thinks is threatening Russia. So language like this around nuclear weapons is a bit worrying.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's no wonder we're all on high alert, Liz, and feeling uncomfortable with it all.
I must admit, to get myself to sleep at 8:30 last night in bed, I was reading papers, and I actually felt I could sleep better when I read that, because it is in the back of your mind. You do think to yourself, ever since this conflict began, Putin invaded Ukraine, at the touch of a button, he could vaporise us, and it's a real...
Or vice versa. I mean, the danger is it happening at all.
Yeah.
And I think that the worrying thing about nuclear warfare is it can happen by accident.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to really worry about.
Well, what was the famous line? I can't remember who said it. The Fourth World War will be fought with clubs, bows and arrows. Because, you know... One nuclear warhead and it all kicks off, and that's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah,
actually,
fair point.
Boris Johnson's been quite praised for how he's been handling the invasion, his relationship with Zelensky. Let's look, if we can, it's page 10 of the Mail. The Tories urge to rally around the Prime Minister for the good of the nation. Yeah,
I like the headline, and when I read it, it doesn't actually say why it would be for the good of the nation. It's just saying, people are saying, don't unseat Boris, you know. It would be better if he stayed there, but it doesn't explain why.
Well, there was a poll over the weekend that suggested that if there was a general election, the Conservatives could lose up to 88 seats, including the Prime Minister's own. So maybe there is maybe right now, the right moment for the Prime Minister to have a bit of a PR campaign.
Yeah, the last poll said that the Labour Party were going to enjoy a landslide in the local elections, and that didn't happen. So the thing in this article is that Jeremy Hunt is on a mission to become the next leader of the Conservative Party, and while they're in government there, hence the Prime Minister. And we've heard the reports about this posh dining experience where Grant Shapps was photographed there as well, the plotters. I just think, I'll go with the headline, but I'll add my own interpretation and say this. I think that it can't be underestimated, although people are quick to do it, how important Boris Johnson's personality and demeanour has been during the pandemic. We know now that there were illicit gatherings, and we know that there are other shambles, like old people being chucked out of hospitals into care homes. A lot went wrong. But as far as the mood of the nation went, I really think that one day there will be a scientific survey into how his leadership style kept us going. And I have to say, also, in the future, when we have another crisis, and sadly, when we lose our Queen, she's 96, then I think to have somebody at the head of the government who has got an uplifting modus operandi, he cannot put a price on that.
Well, there will be this, because I mean, the COVID inquiry will actually examine everything that Boris Johnson did during the pandemic, and whether it was right. So that is going to happen. I mean,
I'm not talking about his policies and his actions. I'm talking about having this jolly, fun, flawed.
Yeah, but he's not very serious. That's
No,
the
but I'm
problem with
saying,
him is he is jolly, but he's not terribly serious.
No, but
and
I
that's
think,
been the real problem.
No, but Nigel, what I'm saying is, if you could quantify the impact he had on the nation's mood when we were all locked up, I think we'd find it was a positive one. And I can't imagine.
Well, we obeyed the rules and he didn't.
I can't imagine with all this country's going to face, and we're facing war, we're facing power cuts potentially in the winter, we've got roaring petrol prices, people can't afford to go, everything that's coming, to have Jeremy Hunt, this is just personal.
Well, it could be somebody else.
And subjective.
Could be Liz Truss. Tom Tugendhat.
Well, it could be somebody that I like. But anyway, Jeremy Hunt has just not got the demeanour. He's got a funereal demeanour as far as I'm concerned, and that doesn't lift the nation.
I think Jeremy Hunt is quite good, and he's quite clearly he'd like to get the top job. But, I mean, certainly there is this manoeuvring going on at the moment where people are putting themselves in pole position for a leadership race, which they do expect to happen. The question is, we don't know when.
No, we don't. Look, we've got to leave it there. Liz Kershaw, Nigel Nelson, thank you both. We shall catch up with you a little bit later on.